Friday, September 15th, 2023, AGNDD Intellireport topic. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Please pardon any visual and informational inaccuracies in this entirely AI-generated Wikipedia-sourced video article.
Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, one of the most influential German writers, had a diverse upbringing in Frankfurt, where he developed a passion for literature, theater, and history. This text explores his early life and the events that shaped his literary career. Johann Caspar Goethe, the father of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, resided in Frankfurt with his family. He worked as a lawyer and imperial counselor, but was not involved in the city's official affairs. Goethe received lessons in various subjects such as languages, dancing, riding, and fencing. He developed a deep interest in literature, theater, and puppet shows. Additionally, he found pleasure in reading about history and religion. Goethe had a peculiar habit of committing the beginnings of books to memory and sought comfort in the tales of Moses and the shepherd tribes. Furthermore, he became acquainted with actors from Frankfurt and experienced infatuations with women like Gretchen and Caritas Meixner. Goethe studied law at Leipzig University and fell in love with Anna Katharina Schönkopf. He wrote poems and became interested in Lessing and Wieland. He returned to Frankfurt due to his studies not progressing and became ill. He left Frankfurt to finish his studies in Strasbourg, where he met Herder and developed an interest in Shakespeare. He fell in love with Friederike Bryan but ended the relationship. He obtained a law degree and practiced law briefly before pursuing literary plans. He wrote Gotz von Berlichingen and later wrote The Sorrows of Young Werther. In 1775, Goethe was invited to the court of Duke Karl August in Weimar, where he remained for the rest of his life. He held various positions and became a close friend and advisor to the Duke. Goethe also formed a relationship with Charlotte von Stein, which lasted for 10 years before he abruptly left for Italy. He participated in the activities of the court and took on important roles, including the War Commission. Goethe was ennobled in 1782 and played a role in recruiting mercenaries during the American Revolution. Goethe's journey to Italy and Sicily from 1786 to 1788 was significant for his aesthetic and philosophical development. Inspired by his father and the renewed interest in classical art, Goethe saw the trip as a pilgrimage. He met artists and notable figures, and his encounter with Greek architecture in Sicily had a profound impact. His diaries form the basis of the non-fiction work Italian Journey, which inspired many German youths to follow in his footsteps. The remaining year of his trip, spent in Venice, is largely undocumented. In late 1792, Goethe participated in the Battle of Valmy and the Siege of Mainz, supporting Duke Karl August of Saxe-Weimar-Eisenach. In 1794, Friedrich Schiller reached out to Goethe, and they became close friends until Schiller's death in 1805. In 1806, Goethe's house in Weimar was invaded by Napoleon's army, but he and his mistress Christiane Vulpius successfully defended it. They married in 1806 and had several children together. Christiane died in 1816, and Goethe reflected on the importance of motherhood. After focusing on literature from 1793 onwards, Goethe developed a close relationship with Caspar Maria von Sternberg by 1820. In 1821, Goethe, at the age of 72, fell in love with 17-year-old Ulrike von Levetzow. Despite wanting to marry her in 1823, he never proposed due to her mother's opposition. Goethe's encounter with Ulrike inspired his poem Marienbad Elegy. He also formed a deep emotional bond with Polish pianist Maria Szymanowska. Additionally, Goethe was impressed by the musical talent of 12-year-old Felix Mendelssohn, comparing him to Mozart. Mendelssohn later set some of Goethe's poems to music. In 1832, Goethe died in Weimar. His last words, mehr Licht, more light, are disputed as his doctor was not present. He is buried in Weimar's historical cemetery. Eckermann describes seeing Goethe's body the morning after his death, noting his noble countenance and magnificent physique. In 1850, Richard Wagner's opera Lohengrin premiered in Weimar, conducted by Franz Liszt on Goethe's birthday, August 28th. Goethe married Christiane Vulpius in 1806, and they had 5 children, but only their eldest son, August, survived into adulthood. August had 3 children with Ottilie von Goethe, but none of them had children of their own. Alma, one of August's children, died at a young age. Goethe's other son, Walter, stated on his gravestone that the Goethe dynasty ended with him, although Goethe's siblings have descendants. Therefore, Goethe himself has no direct descendants. Goethe's most important works before going to Weimar were Götz von Berlichingen and The Sorrows of Young Werther. Werther gained him fame and is considered the spark of the Romanticism movement. In Weimar, he wrote Wilhelm Meister's Apprenticeship, Iphigenie auf Taurus, Egmont, Torquato Tasso, and Reinecke Fuchs. During his friendship with Schiller, he conceived Wilhelm Meister's Journeyman Years, Hermann and Dorothea, Roman Elegies, and The Natural Daughter. In his last period, he wrote Faust Part 1, Elective Affinities, West Eastern Diwan aus meinem Leben, Dichtung und Wahrheit, Italian Journey, and treatises on art. He was also influenced by Kalidasa's Abhijnana Sakuntalam. The summary states that Goethe's novel The Sorrows of Young Werther was influenced by his own personal experiences and explores themes of unrequited love and despair. The novel caused controversy due to its depiction of suicide. Goethe's later work, Faust, became a significant piece of literature and inspired numerous operas and symphonic works. Goethe's poetry and quotes have also had a lasting impact on German culture and language. Goethe, known primarily as a poet, was also involved in studies of natural science. He wrote about morphology, color theory, and conducted galvanic experiments. His ideas on transformation influenced 19th century naturalists, and his studies on homology were used by Charles Darwin as evidence of common descent. Goethe also discovered the human intermaxillary bone and formulated a theory of plant metamorphosis. He popularized the Goethe barometer and published his theory of colors, which discussed the interplay of light and darkness in creating color. Goethe's works, such as Faust, the Roman Elegies, and the Venetian epigrams, often delve into the exploration of erotic passions and acts. In the case of Faust, his initial use of newfound power is to entice a young girl. Certain Venetian epigrams by Goethe were withheld from publication due to their explicit sexual content. Goethe, in contrast to the prevailing norms of his time, believed that human sexuality was a legitimate topic for artistic expression, even though it was commonly regarded as private. However, it is important to note that Goethe openly condemned pederasty, viewing it as a deviant behavior that could lead to bestial tendencies. Goethe was a freethinker who had complex and varied views on Christianity. He believed one could be inwardly Christian without following any specific church, but also criticized Christian theology and its history. He described himself as not anti-Christian nor un-Christian, but most decidedly non-Christian. Goethe's unorthodox religious beliefs led to him being called the Great Heathen and provoked distrust among authorities. He also showed interest in other religions, including Islam. Politically, Goethe described himself as a moderate liberal and was critical of radicalism and nationalism. He was a Freemason and frequently alluded to Masonic themes in his work. Goethe was a highly influential figure in the 19th century, known for his poetry, essays, criticism, and nonfiction writings. He had a profound impact on thinkers such as Hegel, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, and Jung. Goethe's work embodied both classicism and romanticism, and his poetry was set to music by many composers. His most famous creation was the Faust tragedy, which inspired symphonies by Beethoven, Liszt, and Mahler. Goethe was also a cultural force and had a meeting with Napoleon, who admired his intellect and writings. Germain de Stael praised Goethe as a living classic and elevated his status as a European cultural hero. This is a list of books about the life and works of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, including biographies, critical studies, and translations of his works. Some notable titles include The Life of Goethe by George Henry Lewis, Goethe, The History of a Man by Emil Ludwig, and Goethe, His Life and Times by Richard Friedenthal. There are also books that explore specific aspects of Goethe's life and works, such as Goethe's Concept of the Demonic by Angus Nichols and Goethe and Rousseau, Resonances of Their Mind by Karl Hammer, Jr. The given list includes various books and articles about Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, a German writer and polymath. Some of the works mentioned are focused on specific aspects of Goethe's life and work, such as his naturalistic anthropology, his influence on Russian literature, and his allegories of identity. Others provide critical introductions or short overviews of Goethe's life and works. These sources offer a range of perspectives and insights into the life and literary contributions of Goethe. In conclusion, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's early life in Frankfurt shaped his passion for literature and theater. His experiences in Leipzig and Strasbourg further influenced his literary pursuits, leading to the creation of his renowned works.
Thank you for watching this AGNDD Intellireport. Like, subscribe, and click the bell button to get notified during new uploads. And make sure to tune in next time. Stay safe and healthy. Cheers.